Okay, we're here today with Skip Hoagland. He's a local watchdog who basically investigates corruption and crime in not-for-profits. Skip, how long have you been doing what you do exactly with as far as not-for-profits are concerned?
Well, David, I retired and actually have still live part time in South Carolina, but my wife and I are actually retiring to Florida. And I decided, as a 70-year-old man, after working and building my company for 50 years, I decided once I retired that I was going to go ahead and try to give back a little bit. And I just got very interested in politics, and I got very interested in local politics, and then state politics, and then found out that some of the stuff I was working on was a national problem. This whole thing actually started off when I realized that nonprofit chambers of commerce and convention and visitors bureaus and city DMOs, who the city actually hires a designated marketing organization to invest the city's aid tax monies, and I realized that these entities were competing against my media company in the internet business, and I decided to try to stop that. I'm a real big free enterprise individual. I believe in free enterprise, and I don't believe that government or anybody in government or state should be interfering, or be in competition with private enterprise. So, governments and nonprofits are supposed to support free enterprise and the people that pay taxes, not compete with us. And so the more I got into this, the more I discovered how much other forms of abuse were actually happening. And so I started discovering that the town councils that were issuing these monies were issuing these millions and millions of dollars, like you're being issued up in Myrtle Beach, given to the Chamber of Commerce without any oversight, no contracts, no procurement process for fair bidding, no FOIA, where the books are open to the public. It's all in secrecy. No nonprofit corporation acts are being adhered to, even for its own chamber members. And then I realized that a Chamber of Commerce, a private 501-c6 chamber, really should not be in any business whatsoever. That's not their job. Their job is to help their local members prosper as a business league, and they're not supposed to be in business. So I started now realizing that the monies, the tax monies, were being unconstitutionally used for profit by these chambers, and it just led into one abuse after another. So I finally decided to file an IRS whistleblower tax case, claiming that these chambers of commerce and CVBs and the city DMOs being allowed by these town councils and mayors to get all this money without any oversight was in violation of IRS UBIT laws, unrelated business income tax, which means if you're a nonprofit and you're earning money that's actually competing against free enterprise, that you have to pay taxes on that money, and you stand to lose your nonprofit status. So we have massive violations in South Carolina, violations like I've never seen in my life, actually. So that basically gives you a quick oversight. Now,
Skip, let me ask you, so that my readers can understand, because some of them don't. Tell our readers what a city DMO is.
A city DMO is called a designated marketing organization, and that's where the city is taking these accommodation tax monies from the hotels, and they are choosing a local entity to take these aid tax monies, to invest these monies under the guidelines of a designated marketing organization, DMO, to promote the entire city and the entire community. But what's happened is corruption has entered the picture, and they are giving, I don't know what how much accommodation tax monies are being given to the chamber in Myrtle Beach. I assume it's 10, 15, 20 million dollars a year. And it is completely so screwed up and so abusive because the chamber is taking these monies and unconstitutionally and misusing these funds for its own private profit purposes. A DMO and ATAX money should put it out for procurement bid to local ad agencies. That ad agency should charge an agency fee of whatever 15%. They should take the $10 million, and the bulk of that $10 million should go to promote the entire community to the benefit of all businesses in Myrtle Beach. What's happened is this money is being just handed to the Myrtle Beach Chamber. They are using the money to develop their own apps and websites, and then instead of being free and promoting the entire community, they're upselling millions of dollars worth of advertising and putting it in their pocket. We don't know, and then not to mention that, paying somebody like Brad Dean. Imagine a nonprofit chamber, the head of a nonprofit local chamber, making $400,000 a year, and we don't know what else this guy is abusing. Could be stealing, could be committing embezzlement, could be committing theft. We don't know until we have a forensic audit and we actually have an FBI investigation on Brad Dean and the whole process of where this money's going. Now, the first FBI raid and forensic audit on an institution, a Chamber of Commerce, and a school system in South Carolina was just conducted on Berkeley County, South Carolina. This is ongoing as we speak. And the minute they looked at all their books and all their finances that nobody's ever done before, they both have been found to commit crimes. In fact, the CFO of the school system in Berkeley County, right out of the gate, the minute the FBI knocked on the door, he admitted to $400,000 in theft. The Chamber of Commerce is ongoing under investigation as we speak, and I suspect that embezzlement, theft, and fraud will be discovered. I believe, and this is what I believe, with all my heart, I believe this. I believe when a forensic audit is done on Brad Dean of the Myrtle Beach Chamber, a forensic audit is done on Helen Hill, the Charleston CVB, a forensic audit is done on Bill Miles of the Hilton Head Chamber, there's no escape from wrongdoing. The wrongdoing will be discovered, and I imagine there could be some prison that comes out of this. That's never in the history of the United States, David, has a school board, a town government, a chamber, a CVB, a city DMO been forensically audited where they refuse to provide financial information, and they were forced to provide it. Never, not just South Carolina, but the entire history of this country, never has a forensic audit been performed without wrongdoing discovered, and most of the time prison a result.
Let me ask you something. You sued the Beaufort Hilton Head Chamber for FOIA, for Freedom of Information, and you won that lawsuit, correct?
That's correct. I won that in a lower court case. The judge was Judge Nettles on that case, and he ruled in my favor on every count. And imagine that the Hilton Head Chamber of Commerce, with lawyer David Tiggis of McNair Law Firm and other people involved, imagine that they appealed that judge decision to the Supreme Court. Let me tell you something, David. It's real simple. If they had nothing to hide, if Brad Dean had nothing to hide, if Bill Miles had nothing to hide, Helen Hill had nothing to hide, the school administrators in the state of South Carolina, like Jeff Moss, superintendent of Beaufort Schools, if these people had nothing to hide, they would volunteer to a forensic audit to clean the slate and prove to all of us that what they're doing with our tax monies is clean, completely transparent, and no wrongdoing committed. The fact is, they're all fighting to remain secret, and they're fighting to refuse this transparency, accountability, and proven performance metrics. And this only tells you one thing. When somebody refuses to be transparent, they've already admitted their guilt. They have something to hide. Never, I repeat, never in the history of this country has somebody refused to comply to a volunteer to an audit, or comply to FOIA, or comply to Nonprofit Corporation Act laws, and once forced by the FBI or forced by other state or local officials, they've never come out clean and never escaped. So I'm telling you that I think that I've got a pretty good bet. I would say that when Skip Hoagland says that once a forensic audit is performed on the Myrtle Beach Town Council, and as well as the Brad Dean of the Myrtle Beach Chamber, you can rest assured there'll be massive wrongdoing discovered. We'll clean it up. It'll all be rebuilt from the ground floor up, and we'll get back to running all this like we should, and we'll save the taxpayers millions and millions of dollars. Okay?
Do you think that Brad Dean, politically speaking, do you think Brad Dean's a very powerful man in the state of South Carolina?
I think all these chambers together have become very powerful, and that's why I have focused on feeding all the information that I get, and you never really know how they're using it, but I have sent all of my discoveries, not just to the IRS, but I've sent it to FBI, I've sent it to SLED, I've sent it to the Attorney General, I've sent it to the Department of Justice, and I believe that my case and my findings are quite substantial and very strong, and more than enough justification to forensically audit all these entities. And again, I repeat, Berkeley County was the first one, and that's just the first of many. I believe that Berkeley County proved that the school system and the Chamber of Commerce, if you can imagine, the first time in a 100-year, 200 history of South Carolina, this is the first time these two institutions have ever been forced to total transparency through a forensic audit. Now, if you don't think that all the rest of the chambers and the school systems receiving hundreds of millions of dollars, if you don't think all these people are going to be forensically audited and no wrongdoing discovered, well, you're just not living in reality. You're just living in a fantasy world.
Well, thank you for your time. We look forward to hearing good news from your court case.
Well, I hope I don't bore your listeners. I hope I didn't speak too fast. I know this is a little complicated, but it is what it is. And I'm happy to address any other questions you might have in the future, okay?
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye. Thank you.